One of the most important aspects of this work is the need to get out beyond the desk and get out of the comfort zone of a nice air-conditioned desk in Brisbane or Toowoomba and get into the real country. First of all, it has a lasting impression on what exactly producers and farmers and growers are actually going through. It's not just an academic exercise, but also to learn the language and learn the decision-making. Again, this all depends on the decisions that are there. And very often at a hot, dusty hall out the middle of nowhere, an absolute gem of a question will come out that will shake you to your boots and say, this is what we have to do. We're heading in the wrong direction, doing the research that way, we need to do it that way. And it can come out of some poor old guy sitting in the front row that's been looking at this for all his or her life, realising just what needs to be done. And that sort of information is priceless. And that then gave me a lot of satisfaction and enjoyment, I have to say, of working with producers and growers to pick up these gems of knowledge. Because these folk in the bush have had to make tough decisions all their lives. And they're multi-million-dollar decisions quite often, or the whole family farm can go. So it's tough decision-making. So working with folk like that in Queensland has been a godsend. So that's adjusted my sort of way of thinking, if you like. Doesn't mean I've become an extension officer, or one has to become an extension officer, but just if the scientists themselves that are doing the core work can get out and speak their, even if it's a different language to start with, to start to communicate, that's where the changes occur. And farmers and producers and growers really appreciate that. They really appreciate that a scientist that really knows what they're doing will come and talk to them, rather than it going through a whole lot of intermediaries, which is still important. But that change and that direct contact is invaluable. Yeah, no amount of technology and Zoom meetings can actually reproduce or replicate face-to-face discussion where a chance comment can lead to global change. That doesn't happen through video links where you're just ticking boxes and finishing the meeting. It just doesn't work. You get the meeting finishes on time, but very little has really been achieved for the long term. The big strategic breakthroughs tend not to occur under electronic discussions. Face-to-face, or having a beer afterwards, or having a coffee during the middle of a workshop, or running into someone downtown the next day is where it happens. Now, how you quantify that, we don't know. But I know from personal experience, that's the breakthroughs we've made in Australia, that scientists such as myself, 30 odd years ago, started to move out, partly because the research development corporations asked us to do that, which is a very good technique, which doesn't happen around the rest of the world. So oddly enough, here we are in the most variable climate on Earth, but we're world leaders in how to manage this stuff. So we have global leadership in Australia, especially in Northern Australia, and a lot of these programs that are being developed, the Future Drought Fund and so on, we have global leadership and how we do this work. We should be able to capitalise on that leadership. Our farmers and producers should be able to capitalise on that leadership. We're way ahead of the rest of the world, so they're turning to us to say, how do you do this work? How do you survive this sort of climate? How do we know how to talk to farmers? And yet it just comes naturally. Yeah, the issue of less contact with the bush is a very interesting and challenging story. I think it is becoming more difficult to bring those, if you like, different aspects together in Australian life. I think it's becoming more and more difficult. One way to overcome that is the increased emphasis on quality tourism into these places where people can rub shoulders with our friends in the bush. Longreach is a lovely example of good quality restaurants and people from the cities coming out here and mixing. I think that's a major way to do this. Again, people have to move out behind their TV screens or their videos and so on, and actually get out into the bush and see what it's like, to see how tough it can be as well, because that's the country and that's the world we're really living in. I think that has to be done. So the more programs can actually encourage that sort of interaction, the better. Otherwise, we'll have such a diverse society, we'll all suffer in the long term, globally.